Welcome to another Random Talk Sunday, and today I thought it would be interesting to address the question of is TV dying? In other words, is television becoming less prevalent since the rise of technology, in particular the internet, has spawned various other forms of alternative media that have allowed people to sort of brush TV off to the side. And I think there is some truth in that. I think TV is not something that's becoming, I guess, all too common anymore. And I think there are a variety of reasons for this, but I think still TV has a certain amount of influence. It's just not, I think, the um, powerhouse of influence that at least it had within the 20th century. Um, and obviously, this is primarily due to the internet. Um, I think the internet in particular allows people to really browse and really capture new information that maybe may have not been captured before on television. And I think this is what's resulting in a lot of people going to these alternative medias and really kind of trying to figure out what's out there, what's available to sort of consume as entertainment. And obviously, with things like YouTube, um, Amazon Prime, Netflix, they have allowed for people to kind of uh, take in, I guess, a huge amount of media that otherwise maybe may or may not have been available to them, depending. And I think, again, this is really something that has given rise to, I think, a lot of people being able to seek out what they sort of like and enjoy, as opposed to sort of being confined to either television or really renting a movie. So, again, I think it has a lot of significance as far as providing choice to people that television really ultimately doesn't provide. And I can understand why people are suddenly gravitating more towards the internet and those kinds of uh, media. Um, but I think the way in which television is set up, I think it may have a little bit of advantage in the sense that television is somewhat predictable. You can kind of understand when and what is going to be on at a certain point. Uh, and again, it's not like that isn't part of the internet as well, but I think it's just a certain amount of predictability to it that allows someone to kind of not have to really make up their mind all too much. They could just kind of browse and then just say, oh, this is on. Okay, I'll just watch this. Whereas on the internet, you kind of have to go in and you have to search through and find the content that you want to really watch and sort of take in. You know, it's not like the flipping of a switch. And again, I guess they're trying to make that a little bit easier with, the big TVs that they have now that include Netflix and Amazon Prime and whatnot. Um, but at the same time, again, you obviously too pay for the television as well as those other alternative services too that kind of comes with sort of the package, I guess you could say. So, um, yeah, I think it's uh, it's one of those interesting uh, predicaments that I think allows sort of TV to kind of exist. And uh, obviously, though, um, sometimes you can't really gain access to things that are on the internet, or you will have to watch them broadcasted on television. So there's also that limitation as well, and that there may be something television has may or may not be present on the internet, depending whether or not content is uh, put up on the internet for people to watch. I think this is becoming a lot more common with, in particular, comedy shows, them sort of allowing their content to be sort of showcased onto the internet so people can watch. But it seems like still TV kind of wants to give off this sort of bigger presence And also, there is, I think, an emphasis too within television onto certain events and things that it'll try to focus on. Like, for example, the Super Bowl. Most people would probably watch something like the Super Bowl on television as opposed to on the internet. So, again, it has all of these different things to it. Also, the Olympics are probably more commonly viewed on television because I remember last time it was sort of a hassle to find things on the internet when it came to those events. So again, there is a certain advantage, and I think a certain amount of uh, influence that television still has that allows it to kind of broadcast itself a lot easier than through the internet. But again, the internet is obviously getting larger and larger and larger every year, so I think it only makes sense that um, in doing so, its influence is going to grow and grow exponentially. As to whether or not it's going to actually destroy television, that's kind of the question that still I think remains to be seen. I mean, I think, it really, television does have, I think, its good points. And I think, in particular, the older generation likes television more only because, there's really not a huge amount of buffering with television, unlike, the internet. Sometimes you're watching the video and then it kind of buffers on you, or you can't even watch the whole thing. Sometimes it just stops out of nowhere. So there is still some kind of minor inconveniences, I think, also too, that come with that. So I could see why people might, in particular, ones that are not really fond of technology, would not really want to um, try to pursue trying to consume some kind of entertainment from the internet and instead seek out television. And I think it'll probably still stay pretty relevant because you also have uh, the influence that television sort of has onto the internet because you'll have these hashtags when a premiere of a particular show happens, and then people will start writing things about the episode kind of and go hashtag so and so, or kind of make that something that's sort of a trend kind of out of it. And it'll all be because it was aired on television. So again, I think they're sort of playing with each other, these two formats of media. The internet is kind of um, enhancing television and allowing for more variety, and in doing so, giving people more options, I think, overall. And I think it's great. I mean, I think these two mediums, I think it would be nice if they could coexist for some time. But unfortunately, since technology, changes constantly, it's sort of hard to really tell where it's ultimately going. I know VR in particular, uh, short for virtual reality, is becoming more prevalent. I personally don't care for virtual reality. Like, you could never get me to try on one of those things. Um, Only for just to see it, experience it once, okay, maybe, but I could never consider it a form of media, only because I just like to, kind of have a separation between myself and the media. Like, I don't like to feel like I'm, you know, inside it, because I like to think of myself as an observer and not a participant. Uh, so again, I think that is also something that's really important to note. But at the end of the day, I think it's still going to go into that direction of, again, trying to kind of give balance to both the internet and television. But in a way, I think, in particular, television's influence, its significance, and its importance, I think, is being significantly minimized by the internet. And I think it's what's causing te- causing sort of television to kind of go away and not be as uh, prevalent or as important as it was within the 20th century. So again, there is tons of directions in which this could go. Um, I think it would be nice if there were more options for people, in the sense of choosing which channels they want to have as their own channels. Instead of putting it in these kinds of really strange packages and whatnot. And sometimes the pricing, I think, is also a bit much too for what you end up really getting. So I can understand why people would rather just give up one, or in particular would rather give up on television than the internet, where you can, I think, find a lot more than you can, and you're not as restricted with television. But again, I think there's a certain amount of predictability to television that allows it to kind of be uh, there, and for people to be able to uh, get access to things that may or may not be present on the internet yet, depending. So again, it'll be interesting to see where this all takes us. I think it'll probably be roughly another maybe again 50 years, depending on how the trend kind of goes. Um, I like to kind of break away a little bit sometimes from the media, from the technology, from all of it. Um, and like just read or, go outside and whatnot. I mean, I'm really not that person that kind of likes to have the toys and whatnot. Very simple person in that sense. Again, I do like television and I do enjoy movies and obviously books. I mean, that's really a huge part of my kind of creative psyche. But at the same time, I realize stepping away and enjoying other things is also very important. So, but as far as television is concerned, yeah, it's kind of unfortunately going downwards. As far as to whether or not it's, as far as to whether or not how far it's gonna go, I think that still remains to be seen. But I think we're still going, at least within this time, we still have sort of a balanced kind of medium between the internet and television. They're sort of kind of coexisting at the moment. We also have theaters still too, so theaters didn't really go away. Because I think still people like to go to the movies and have the big screen and the loud noises and all that. I think that's something that's very entertaining and enjoyable for people to sort of experience, and I don't see that kind of floating away anytime soon either. It'll probably just depend on, again, whether or not they kind of update with things or try to make things more technological. I don't know. Maybe they'll suddenly have everybody just wear VR headsets when we go to the movie theaters, which I think would be very unfortunate. Because again, I like to have that kind of separation. But oh, we'll see. But I think that's really all I can say about this topic. I'd be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. I will be delaying Mondays as well as Tuesdays video, but expect Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays video to be uploaded on Wednesday. But yeah, that's I think all I can say. Thank you so much, and